Stuart. As we began our State of the Conference, we began with this prayer, and it's entitled A Prayer for Beginners, written by Carrie Waylander. And she writes the following. Unfamiliar seas again, there's been a shift in the wind. We wrap ourselves in chaos and possibility and attend to this unexpected course. We prefer being experts and the skill that familiarity brings, yet something continually stirs and surprises us. We are always beginners. So let us go with curiosity and courage, with vision and vigor. Let us journey beyond these open doors, ready to learn and learn again, ready to embark and embark again, ready to trust and to trust again in the one who has loved us in every beginning. Reverend Kevin Brown, Reverend Kelly Gallagher, and I shared these following words with the conference gathered. Because we've been in the deep for the last 2.5 years, we decided to share in this moment to model collaboration and connection, tying our kayaks together, if you will, because we had been set adrift in the deep. Through the lenses of dismantling white supremacy, embracing all gifts and uplifting all voices, we have sought to model a way that has both acknowledged and celebrates unique roles and responsibilities, while also acknowledging that we never do anything alone. We are called the beloved community, which is messy and sticky and beautiful. And so this State of the Conference is going to take a look at all the collaborative, messy, and beautiful work that has been done. And these are pictures from this past weekend, so you can see, one, that I was actually there, and two, that Mary Russell, our delegate, was there as well. In this poem from Carrie Waylander, it's been used in moments of transition through the life of our conference. It has popped up when there was the sale of Pilgrim Point. It popped up during COVID, and it seemed fitting that it be used in this time of transition. My term as moderator began in June of 2023, and from the very start, it has been a season of transition and disruption. The first shift in the wind came that August while I was traversing the Great Minnesota Get-Together on a quest for deep-fried pickles, receiving the phone call from Sherry Prestiman, who was the conference minister at the time. It's the kind of call that so many of us recognize when she said, "Just give me a call when you're done at the fair." Ooh. Those words signaled that the waves of chaos and possibility were beginning to push up against our boat. When she announced her resignation, the board, in careful consultation with the National United Church of Christ search coordinator, looked at the overall strength and stability of the conference and made the thoughtful decision to hire a transitional conference minister whose primary role would simply be to keep the boat steady while we began the search process. In late 2023, the board's executive committee initiated the search and recommended Reverend Dr. David Lindsay, who stepped into the transitional conference role in January of 2024. While he possessed wonderful gifts of ministry, it ultimately became clear that they did not align with the specific needs of our conference, despite several months of close guidance, support, and weekly meetings with staff and the executive committee. Consequently, in November of 2024, the board of directors voted unanimously that it was in the best interest of the conference and the healthiest path forward for everyone to release him from his role a decision handled fairly, justly, and with ongoing grace while maintaining necessary confidentiality. Following this decision, our two associate conference ministers, Kevin Brown and Kelly Gallagher, seamlessly absorbed the remaining leadership responsibilities. Because they had already been heavily supporting much of this work, the transition was a natural fit that highlighted the high-functioning skill set of our existing staff to manage the critical duties of the conference minister's role without formally assuming its mantle. To ensure that they were not overburdened long-term, the board prioritized the search for a settled leader, supporting a search committee that had dedicated a year to crafting our conference profile and interviewing a series of candidates. Throughout this entire interim season, the deep collaboration between the staff and a supportive board anchored us, turning what could have been a period of instability into a launch pad for great excitement. In August of last year, that teamwork culminated when the conference overwhelmingly called Reverend Dr. Tanya Sadagopan as our settled conference minister. A new chapter we greeted with deep enthusiasm and robust coaching support. However, when a formal personnel inquiry by our HR firm, My HR Partner, in February of 2026 forced the board to convene, the waves of this sudden crisis threatened to capsize our boat. Guided by HR professionals, legal counsel, and a whole lot of prayer through the storm, the board voted unanimously to terminate the call agreement. A heartbreaking moment where many tears were shed. And while we were completely unified that this painful decision was necessary to steady the ship, we were left heartbroken, rocking in the wave of this grief, and feeling like beginners back at the shore again, trying to figure out how to mend our nets. When our boat was no longer steady, we couldn't afford a leisurely casting of lines. Instead, our nets were fully cast, pulling up a massive learning curve that forced us to pivot from grieving traditional, centralized leadership to navigating uncharted waters. The initial rocking of the boat revealed critical structural vulnerabilities, as our finance and personnel committees had to work double time to claim work previously held in silos. We met this challenge by calling upon our nominating work group to help rebuild our crew, intentionally recruiting volunteers with HR and financial experience to our committees, and then contracting an outside firm, My HR Partner, to steady our internal policies. That was one reason why Mary found herself on the personnel committee. Furthermore, we realized that the ripples of crisis required better navigation from the entire bridge, prompting a swift correction in how the executive committee shares information more broadly and swiftly across the entire board, which it does so now, today, ensuring every voice helps steer our collective decisions. Out of the turbulent waves of this season, the waters have stirred with vibrant new life. The board and staff have partnered to expand our team. We have emerged from this transition more resilient, proving that even in the midst of fully cast nets and a massive learning curve, unexpected growth can take root when a community is willing to learn, adapt, and row together. And while these storms rocked our boats within our own world of the Minnesota Conference, they raged in the wider world as well. Chaos indeed ensued over this last year, beginning with a year ago at the meeting, and actually a year ago today. It was in that room last year that we learned of the assassination of Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, and the attempted assassinations and intentions to assassinate others in our legislature. In August, we mourned the death of children in a mass shooting at Annunciation School. In December, Metro surge began that stretched across the whole state. We were all navigating what it means to live under the threat of an authoritarian government that celebrates and encourages white Christian nationalism. All of this intentional chaos is meant to bring violent and devastating possibility to bear, to make us afraid, to turn us inward. We in the Minnesota Conference are no stranger to being unsettled. If ever we embodied this flow of chaos and possibility, it has been in this last year. The conference has been thrown and sometimes walked right into a swirl of chaos, and out of it came possibility. We have learned to invest in our connections by diving deeper into relationships, particularly in times of crisis. We have learned to invest in our connections by offering financial support in the work of our churches, clergy, and members, and what they're doing in the world. The possibilities arose in the midst of this chaos to come together to be torn apart, and we chose to tie our boats together in this storm. And many of us are tired, like the disciples must have felt when they had been dragging those nets up, down all night, yielding nothing. When they finally thought they were done, arms aching, backs sore, resting on the shore, to hear Jesus say, "Try one more time." Sometimes we just want to say we know better, and there isn't any more we can do. There's comfort sometimes in just knowing. And it's hard not knowing what's going on or what is coming next. We respond in chaos and turmoil more often than not with what we do know. We hold meetings, we form a lot of committees, we make a plan, and then those things are not so bad, but this year called us to do something different. The Minnesota Conference, which that also includes all of you sitting in this pew, we are all a part of the Minnesota Conference, took a deep breath and felt many stirrings. Sometimes those stirrings brought tears, and more often than not, they brought us surprise. In the first 4 months of 2026, they brought us out the best of our ability to hang what needs to happen on the scaffolding of what already exists. As the eyes of the world turned to us, the churches responded. From Moorhead to Medford, from Glencoe to Winona, from Duluth to Mankato, and then all across the metro and even here, the stirrings of what it means to be the people of God moved us as one to respond to the actions of an authoritarian government attempting to unravel the fabric of who we are as a people of faith. And that is a revolutionary work. It's faithful work. Clergy and lay people gathered. There were movement chaplains and mutual aid, school patrols. The UCC national offices gifted the Minnesota Conference $50,000 that sent money across this state as our churches responded to their communities in need. And there's money still available, and yes, we'll be applying for a grant. Our neighbors are still being abducted, and those who remain are still trying to get back on their feet. We know you all are still doing some of the work, and some of the work is still being done here, in large ways and in small ways, and we have resources to be used. And we're learning this together. Surprised at what we can do, we are meeting this moment as beginners together. The wisdom of how it is here collectively, so let us continue to begin and to begin again. To honor and maintain the sacred covenant between our staff and the local churches and the committees, the board and I believed it is essential to open our nets completely, sharing all that we can as we navigate these changing waters with courage, curiosity, and deep resolve. As we cast our nets into the water once again, we are clearly entering a time of intentional interim ministry. We need an experienced, steady hand from outside our immediate lake to help us ride these waves, evaluate what we have gathered, and to help heal and mend our holy nets as we grieve what we have been through. This season gives us the vital time and space to get curious about our search process at the conference level, to ask hard questions alongside our local churches and our national partners, and to discern if who we are truly aligns with who we actually are. To find this leader, a selection committee was formed from the board of directors, including the executive committee, which included Tony Romaine, Danielle Bartz, Bob Sicoli, and myself, along with Herb Rotunda as our personnel liaison, and Emma North from the Settled Search Committee, and also an at-large member of the board of directors. After reviewing 3 profiles provided by the National UCC setting, the board extended the call to Reverend Dr. Bonnie Bates, bringing a pastoral depth that will equip us to be a courageous church. Reverend Bates will help us evaluate our systems, guide our collective healing, and steady our ship. She's a pretty cool person. The staff has been inspired by curiosity and courage. And as we forge the relationships between staff and the board and the conference, we were able to do some amazing things. The Minnesota Conference, with the leadership of the Reverend Wendy Vanderhart, who is our generosity officer, and our covenant organizer, Reverend Mallory Everhart, recently applied for a Lilly Grant through their Exploring Christian Practices initiatives to equip congregations and leaders to resist authoritarianism. We'll find out if we get the grant in December. The conference continues to be a place committed to nurturing the spiritual lives and faith of young people. The conference sponsored 10 young adult leaders to travel to Corrymeela in Northern Ireland to explore what it means to be a peace builder. The conference is also working with our partners to bring together high school students from around the country to Washington, D.C., to learn from and with one another about the work of the legislative advocacy and community organizing that takes place through the arm of the United Church of Christ. Did you know that the UCC has an advocacy network in DC? They sure do, and they're awfully busy these days. The conference during this season has taken on the work of assessing and investing in new and updated technology and operational infrastructures with my HR partner, communications, finance, and clergy and congregational support. With curiosity and courage, our UCC organizers among us in the conference worked with Groundworks Legal to bring a case against the federal government because people of faith were being blocked from providing pastoral care to detainees at the Bishop Henry Whipple building. And the board of directors said yes, that we must do this. And we won. We went up against the Department of Homeland Security, and we won. It was pretty amazing. It's one of those rare moments that the church can move quickly. Don't let it fool you. It was one of those moments where it just made sense. Everyone deserves pastoral care. Our churches continue to walk the path of curiosity and courage, wondering how to be in this world, in this time, collaborating, merging, reaching out, and there will be plenty more of that in the future. We shared lots of learnings in this time. Kelly said, "I have had to learn a lot that I am not sure I ever really wanted to know. We have all had to step into places that we may never have chosen before this last year." She said, "Give me an amen if you can read the license plate of a moving car while typing it into your phone. Give me an amen if you now have a whistle or two. Give me an amen if your church is in transition. Give me an amen if your church is facing a challenge that feels difficult or hard or insurmountable. We always need to learn, and we are ready. And the Minnesota Conference, you have always been ready to step into the chaos, seeking possibility with curiosity, courage, vision, and vigor." Kevin writes, I have had to embark to start over so much more in the past year or so than I was comfortable with or anticipated. And in fact, this morning, he's embarking with the denomination-wide youth trip to Washington, D.C. They left at 5:30. But he also said, I'm grateful and inspired to be on staff with a conference committed to embarking and embarking again, to examine practices, protocols, policies, and procedures that are no longer serving us or that are rooted in systems of oppression that violate our calling and explicit values. Our conference staff, board, and other leaders have demonstrated courage and commitment in embarking on new partnerships to help us better live into our values and expand our capacity for ministry. Embarking on ways of living into far horizon thinking to help us live more fully into our calling, to equip a courageous church alive with Christ's transforming love. And then I finally said, I'm ready to trust and to trust again in the one who has kept me grounded in this rocky boat, the one who continues to call me by name, calls each of us by name, and the steady hope that resurrection happens again and again and again. Being called into the deep has taught me that we cannot do this work alone. We need each other. We are blessed with a resilient staff, a dedicated board, and local churches banded together under the wide net of the Minnesota Conference. We know all too well that the waters can be rough, but we also know that the one who invites us not to be afraid is always present to offer a lifeline. So as we leave this place, we are changed, and yet we are ready. Ready to learn and learn again. Ready to embark and embark again. Ready to trust and to trust again in the one who loves us through every new beginning. That was our State of the Conference. Thank you for allowing me to share that with you so that you knew I was actually there. Thanks be to God. Amen.